Thanks for being here. So maybe we allow the breath to accompany whatever the mind of the moment is. So if your mind is surging and swirling and leaping, maybe the breath, our breath, surges and moves and swirls with it. So maybe we meet the mind in the moment. As we start to layer in and in, feeling to the pulses and underneath these rhythms, and start to locate the perineum or the perineal body. The pituitary and the crown of the head, finding some relationship to that perineum. We may arrive at something that is more or less vertical. You start to feel the breath budding into the shoulders and budding in through the head space and budding into the hips, legs and arms. So maybe our work today is moving from this really quite primary awareness central, spacious, we're going to switch the cross of our legs, working with the hands, the periphery, and then we'll begin some breath work. So I'm placing finger pads, all the finger pads but the thumbs, on the ground right in front of my shins. The finger pads, the fingers are pointing at my body. My palms are facing away. I'm just creating a light traction or a light stretch, just the subtlest enhancement of feeling or sensing. It's just movement sufficient for a slightly different perception of the hands. And sometimes you go light enough, you can actually feel some of those pulsing rhythms from the heart. The other facets of our circulation. This is part of our breathing. And our breathing is not just lung breathing. Our breathing can be cellular. There's many ways to breathe. As the fluids of the body move, there's breathing. A lot of times we can feel the motion, the movement of the fluids when there's a certain kind of weather pattern arising. So as the fluids of the earth move, the fluids of our bodily earth start to shift. There's tides. I just want to suggest that we can listen. We can attune to these tides, these rhythms, these pulsings, this circulation, these breath movements. So I'm really letting the pulse, I'm just going to speak to my perception right now. There's both kind of a fluid and an energetic and a kind of a heart pulsing that's really just, as I'm attuning to it, the hands, the digits, the tissues themselves are moving. So I'm not really doing too much. And that's kind of a beautiful thing, right? And release. Working alternate nostril breathing. No count necessary. Then what do I do? Inhale through one nostril, hold, exhale out the other nostril. And the return or the completion of that round is then I inhale from where I exhaled, I hold, and I exhale out the other nostril. Why no count? So we can hear, to me it's like hear, feel, it's an audible, or it's a palpable hearing. These multiplicity of rhythms playing out in the body. If I have a nice, neat mathematical framework like 1:3:2 ratio, and sometimes we do, sometimes that framework just presses a little too heavily on my listening. I just want to know what's there today. So let's begin alternate nostril breathing. There's no count, but you may feel inclined to count. I'll be starting with my right hand. It doesn't matter. I switch various times of day, various days, so here we go. We'll be working at our own rhythm. And as we listen to our own rhythms, then we know what self feels like. And as we start to feel into the rhythms of other, it's kind of a multiplicity of self rhythms and other rhythms. And if you're brand new to attuning to the fluids of the body or the winds of the body or any of these things I'm naming that don't sound like anatomy parts specifically, maybe we just play with, how do I listen in that way? How would I begin listen feeling, feel listening to these movements of the body? Because they're not just artifacts, they're not its or things. They're with us all of the time. We'll give this just another breath or two round, or breath round, or two breath rounds more. Something may already be starting to reorganize or shift. When you feel complete or you've just reached a natural conclusion, let's find out what we've got in terms of the left hip, the knee, the foot. I've got my left foot beside my left hip. It's behind. Okay. Let me turn just a little bit. I'm not flexing my foot. I think some people may feel comfortable doing that. I'm pointing. Okay. So as long as there's no pain, we'll opt for that. Okay. Occasionally, if there's so here's where we have to meet our body. If there's discomfort, we have to consider that might be workable. But if there's pain, like, oh, something feels snaggly and trapped, then we have to choose a different position. Yeah. So I'm using my left hand, just hooking onto the ankle. If the ankle's not there, just reach out. Now, to attune to the fluids, again, this is just my perception. It helps me if I don't move quite aggressively. So if you're accustomed to really like going for a stretch, I find that this fluid attunement happens somewhere in the lead in to a stretch, but not quite at a place where I feel a great deal of stretch. So I'm just going to lean, lean, lean. To me, there's like a turgor. There's like a fluidic, there's a quality of turgor, like whoop, like the water and the pressure. This kind of, there's an initial almost halting or pausing. The point beyond which I would feel a nerve muscle stretch. But I'm just going to that fluidic turgor pause place. I'm going to breathe here. It just seems interesting to me today. Our muscles and our nerves, they develop much later than the heart, the blood, the bones. The bones seem to develop before the muscles get to them. So when we attune to things like fluid, we're just, to me, this is a stepping back, developmental layers, going back, stepping back, stepping back, stepping back. The intelligence of the body, the wisdom of the body is here before muscles learned. So we can feel into that layer. What preceded all of this comeuppance? And how do I listen to those precedents? Fluid precedents. This consciousness precedents. Release the left hand. And this left hand now, reach behind back, grab onto thigh or whatever's comfortable. Again, I'm letting the water of the body, the fluids, the interstitial fluids guide me. Because here in the Midwest, there's kind of an interesting change in the winds and the water and the temperature right now. So I know between the Earth's weather fronts and the bodily weather fronts can be like a day and a half of, I don't want to say lag, but reflection period. So now having just wound up a little bit more, I'm feeling now that turgor and the fluids of the chest and around the shoulder, and there's that synovial fluid, the fluids of the joint. And so what do I feel when I attune to the sea, the body's seas, the body's fluids? Okay, release that hand. Let the left hand move to the ground. Let the brain and the head kind of relax. Inhaling into the heart space. And I may give us some funny little offerings in terms of cues or pictures, but they may translate as to entirely novel movements or sensations in your body. So I'm all right with sounding weird if it helps you discover something novel. But as you're breathing into the heart space, which is the lung space, just kind of feel and remember how the lungs just envelop the heart, not only envelop, but it's like we always talk about these ball and socket joints, this heart just kind of a ball, and the lungs have kind of a little socket. And if all those secretions in the lung sacs and the heart sacs are kind of happening and keeping things lubricated, you may be able to feel how the lung and the heart actually rotate. There's an excursion. The lungs move around the heart moves inside the lungs. They're not stuck to each other. I'm going to back slightly out of the fold just a little bit. And this is to give your left arm some room. There's a little experiment here. Rather than moving the bones and the shoulder blade of the left arm forward, it's playing, how would I move the left lung? Can I feel the left lung moving? And that left arm reaching. And I've just kind of moved my left hand but the externals of it, like if we're just looking at each other on the screen, it appears that I'm moving my left hand forward. And from the internal side of it, I'm trying to perceive the lung, that the lung can actually move in relationship to the heart. So now when we breathe into the lungs and heart, what do you feel? What do you notice? It's still a forward fold by all By all yogic categorizations, we're still in a fold. Good, inhaling. Moving the heart back upright. The chest and the torso and the arms come along for the ride. And we'll switch sides. So when you switch sides, we started with the right foot behind the right hip in a kind of a Virasana. Okay. And I started with my right hand just hooking. Okay. Now, rather than listening to the muscles, like going until I feel the nerve and the muscle going stretch, 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 I'm leaning until I feel the fluids, kind of a quality of turgor, and it just starts to slow the movement. And for me, this happens before I get to that deeper muscle and nerve stretch. But it's here that I can listen to how those fluid gradients, I can listen to precisely how full my tissues are, or dry my tissues feel. Some days they'll feel really plump, like fluidically plump. Some days in some places it may feel kind of arid or dry. It's one of the fun things about going into the desert or going into the mountains. All of these changes are happening over the course of a day or two, can be quite unmissable. Okay. So I'm going to open up this right hand to reach behind back to grab thigh or clothing. I'm kind of winding up even more the shoulder. Now the shoulders may be different, so if you have to walk back to listen, feel to the fluids, so you're not feeling an achiness about the joints, the ligaments, the tendons, adjust. It's kind of like a little radio station dial. You can roll it back this way. You'll hear certain radio stations. You'll hear the flavor of country or the flavor of talk or sport radio. If you tune the dial a little bit more this way, you'll feel more the neuromuscular, the nerve, the R&B, So we can select into what layer we're listening, substrate. Okay, release that hand, moving into a fold. Bringing the right hand down. And as we're relaxing the neck, you can feel if you're relaxing just the back of the neck or the front of the throat as well. So I've let my right hand go. So if you're complete with that, you can move to fold. And edge out just an inch so that I can play with this right lung. It's not just the right shoulder blade, it's not just the right arm, can I feel my right lung gliding about the heart? Again, there is a kind of a ball socket in this organ relationship. It's a different quality of motion. Yeah. Inhale. The heart up, the lungs up, and the shoulders and the torso and the muscles will come along with it. So let's unwind. We'll set up for dolphin. These little details I'm supplying us with today. The hope is it's not just a course in semantics, and it's not just a language thing. It's hopefully brings a slightly different perceptivity in and through our body. So when we set up for dolphin, we typically offer, finding the chest muscles and the various muscles that kind of flank the lungs and the heart. But let's set the elbows up as we typically do. And now with this, perhaps this heightened awareness of the lungs and the heart, we can feel in the setup, have we closed the front of the heart, the lungs, the chest, or can we still feel that breath, that openness, that lung heart excursion? Can we feel the lungs sliding, relating to the inside of the ribs? Can we feel the top of the lung? Is it moving inside the top of the rib cage? I'm asking, can we feel the sliding, slipping relationship inside of our dolphin setup? And then when you're ready on exhale, we can press the knees off the ground. The alternate here is, if you don't want to put all of your weight in all at once, just curl the toes under, and you can gradually press. Even without lifting the knees up, you can create a lot of pressure and And you know, gas is fluid. Air is a fluid. So water is fluid, blood is fluid, but so is air. Air is fluid. Gas is a fluid. So maybe the way you feel or sense into fluidity is our sliding, gliding relationships. Maybe you start to attune to the fluidic exchange that's happening in the lungs. Those rich, rich, rich capillary beds. Maybe you can detect areas where fluid exchange and fluid movement has become rather swampy or boggy or soggy. The fluids and the pressures have overcome the structure's ability to hold them. And gently set the knees down. I'm going to forget the name of we call it the National Forest, but over on the East Coast in the Carolina area, some old growth, just can't really think of the name, but the ocean, right, kind of becomes all of these rivers and rivers and rivers, and it, from bird's eye view, it looks like a capillary bed. And these forests, they're sometimes flooded, but they're always wet. So sometimes you can't walk in the forest because the water is up. The water comes down. So it's this great exchange, and it's like the capillary beds of the coastline. These old growth trees living in the sometimes sea, sometimes mud. Slide your hands under your shoulders and press to downward dog. And it's here in downward dog, I'll be doing a little bit of abdominal stuff. So I'm going to recommend allow for the neck to relax. And then slightly adjust. It's as if you just want to get a very simple, subtle glimpse of your navel, and you'll feel how that subtly adjusts the neck. Kind of lengthens in the back. It's not a full-on tuck. I'm not curling or crunching the front of my neck. I'm just using that old school drishti to subtly adjust the neck. And exhale with the low belly muscles. Keep exhaling. In this upside down position, you may feel that the belly muscles can actually draw in quite a bit. Now take just a several inch step forward. You can move up to your fingertips, so you can put your fingertips on blocks. It's like a very, very shallow downward dog. We're gradually moving the feet forward. I've put my hands on blocks. Okay. And again, I'm just going to subtly use that sweet old school dristy. I'm just going to peek at my navel and that subtly adjusts my neck. And with another exhale, using those low belly muscles, a little bit of a squeezing or a wringing, but it's more of a subtle wringing. When you release the belly, walk your feet a couple more inches forward. I actually moved my feet like 8 or 12 inches forward. And we'll go hands on shins. So this now kind of resembles monkey pose a little bit. And do that little tip of the chin as if I want to just see what my navel looks like. It's not a crunch to the front of my neck. And then when I'm ready to exhale, the low belly moves. Bend the knees, walk the hands up the thighs. So you see here now is where that chin slightly tipping down. It's just creating a little bit of help for the throat. So as I exhale, we're not just yanking on our throat structure. Exhale with the low belly muscles. Just keep drawing it back and get quite a lengthy exhalation. Keeping the heart, staying really soft in the heart. So just because I'm squeezing or moving my low belly muscles, I don't have to squeeze the chest. Oh, that was interesting. So let's do maybe another just round or two of breath. My sense is that someone may want to practice decoupling the activity of the abdomen from maybe an inadvertent activity around the heart. Did you feel that? So you can exhale, working or moving, expressing that belly, and the heart can stay really soft. Let's just take another round or two. These aren't quite Uddiyanas, they're not quite Agnisaras, they're just exhales, prolonged studies in exhalation. Yeah, feel that. That's really interesting. Thank you. Yeah, the belly can express without tightening the heart. Let's remain here. Just take your time. There's no rush. but I'm enjoying whatever we're finding. Exactly, because that expressing and emptying and letting go can absolutely happen through a soft and a tender heart. And I may add something like this in tomorrow. If we get to see each other tomorrow afternoon, we'll talk about our yolk sacs and our hearts. So we'll have a little bit of play and some experiments therein. Great. And when you do stand, that is all the abdominal work I want to do today. Get any amount of support that you need as we grab the right foot for standing splits. So I'm grabbing both hands around the edges of foot. So again, your standing splits can be simply, standing on left leg. It may include straightening the right leg to whatever degree you feel is reasonable and interesting. Change my hand position. Left hand, grab the outer edge of right foot. I've conveniently put a wall here, so I'm just going to touch support off that wall. I'm going to intone with my right hand. The heart, the lungs, getting breath buoyed toward the sky. I think that belly-heart connection was kind of interesting a moment ago. Press through the foot as you bend your knee to release the foot down. Two moves. Standing splits first. Both hands grab left foot. Okay. This can be the pose. And I get a lot from pressing my left foot into my hands as if I'm stepping up onto a very high ladder step. And that does something really interesting in my pelvis, pelvic floor. It does something really interesting to my standing leg. Can you still feel that low belly? Okay. And change the hands a little bit. The right hand grabs the outer edge of the left foot. I'm using my left hand on the wall. And those of you who are pattern people, you may already be sensing and feeling how this is an ultra subtle version of twisting scissors. And feeling the lungs, how they slip and slide and relate to the heart. You can feel the heart. As it relates inside those lungs. And press that foot into the hand, bend the knees, set the foot down. Let's stand at the top of our mat, shall we? Chair pose. Inhale, bending the knees, reach the arms. Exhale, fold. You can bring the hands to the shins or to the ground, your pleasure. Monkey. So here I do like the hands on the legs. Inhale, the heart lifts effortlessly away from the lap. Let's pause right here in monkey. Hope you have some hand support. Let's take a couple more breaths just because of an observation here. Did you notice I didn't say use your back muscles to lift the heart or press the chest wall and squeeze around the heart? So let's just give ourselves one additional breath here in monkey. Can you feel as the heart soft? There we go. And then it kind of lengthens forward another, millimeter or 90. Exhale, exhaling fold. Let's set the hands down. Bend the knees. Inhale, step both feet back. And exhale. You can set the knees down, lower the belly and the heart down. Cobra, set the hands forward. Inhale. How do we keep the heart soft without bending down or kind of crimping down on those heart nerves in the back? Exhale, lower, downward dog. Reset the hands under the chest. Extended warrior variation with chest opener. Inhale the left foot forward. So it's a warrior 2 stance. Left arm propped. And the right arm may reach. Now, feeling from the space of the lung and the heart, and feel that breath budding in through the shoulder. Feeling that budding breath from the heart, from the lung. Or really from the side of the body, the right side of the body. Kind of budding into the upper arm and the elbow. Can you feel 3 bones in the elbow meeting? Can you feel that as a kind of a triune meeting place? And feel that breath and that aliveness budding into the forearms, into the whole heel of the right palm. Feeling both the palm side of the wrist, but also the knuckle side of the wrist, the top and the bottom, or the inside and the outside of the wrist. Can you feel both sides of the wrist? Sometimes when we engage an active hand, we tend to feel just one side of the wrist. All the way to those fingertips. All right, so now using a block or not, extended warrior. I'm going to lower my right hand to my right hip and lower the left hand to the ground, or again, a block. Blocks are nice if the hip feels a little bit unwilling to go there. Okay. Now let's reach that right arm. Now, I'm going to just kind of work with us a little bit here in this extended warrior. Just another observation, a place we can play. In the very beginning of our practice, I offered that there's a way we can move it. We kind of feel the fluid, the turgor, beyond which we may feel more the muscle, the joints, the nerve. Can you feel this right arm actually belongs to the right side? And if it feels disjointed or it feels partitioned, maybe ease up on the degree of reach effort. Can you feel that this right limb, arm, limb, actually coming from the same space of the lung and the waist? So we may not be changing our movement so much as we're changing our perception. Inhale, bring the right hand down. Set the right knee down. We're moving into pigeon and we're setting up to twist toward the foot. So walk left foot over, lying the left shin down. Okay. I like putting a block on the sole of foot because I can feel the inside and the outside of my foot pressing or not pressing. I can feel the heel and the forefoot pressing or not pressing. So it's just feedback. I like it. I like grabbing the block until or unless I feel moved to put my armpit over my thigh or my armpit over my foot. So why listen to the fluids and the gradients and these viscosities and accelerations of fluid through the body? One that I can think of right off the bat is when we do encounter those really arid, not so plump, kind of burned up or dried out areas, if we're listening to the fluids, we will have gained skill in how those fluids move and how we can encourage that movement into those drier areas. You know, we've got a lot of unmitigated burning going on the West Coast. It's like, how do we bring that moisture to those areas that are dried up, right? And also, as these fluids move, they're creating structure. So the very way fluids move in the body is signaling what kind of structure to be. Isn't that amazing? So again, if, for example, in the Midwest, we have this clay-like soil. If I were rain, and I moved across that clay soil very, very quickly, I would create a deep rut, a rivulet, a deep trench. And that trench of clay structure hardened becomes that's a different topographical feature. Inhale, let's unwind from this pigeon. Help the heel closer under your pelvis. Exhale, downward dog. Inhale the right foot forward. Extended warrior variation, chest opener. So it's a warrior 2 stance. I've got the right arm on the right thigh, raising the left. We can go a little differently into this than just lifting a limb. We're going to start at the lung and the heart. And feel your breath budding into that shoulder socket, the shoulder space rather. Budding in through the upper arm bone area, where the bicep, the humerus is. And into that elbow space. To the forearms. And as we head into the space of the wrist, that breath budding and budding and budding. And you feel the front of the wrist, the back of the wrist, one more than the other. And to the fingertips. And you feel how that left lung moves in relationship to the heart in relationship to that left lung. Because here in a moment, as we move into extended warrior, you'll have the opportunity to move from the lung, or you can move from the shoulder joint, and I bet they feel very, very different. I'm going to start by bringing the left hand next to the left hip, the right hand down to the ground or block. Now here's your experimental moment. You can move from and with that left lung, or you can move with muscles and joints. Huh. Isn't that a different tone on those organs? That's really neat. I didn't lose awareness of the muscles. I didn't lose awareness of the bones. Inhale, bring the left hand down, the left knee down, twisting pigeon toward the foot. So walking the right foot to the left. Okay. Now, moving into this twisting pigeon, I have no preconceived notion of where I'll end up. And I'm not sure that I really care. But if I'm listening to the fluids, I'll go right where I need to go. If those fluids, that turgor, that if it's so bound and it kind of presses on nerves, then I'll be compelled to stop, right? But don't you find that the rhythms of the body, the pulses, the beats, if you want to call them beats, I'm not so sure that that's really the best word for it, but those pulses and those rhythms of the body, they express through the fluids. So if I'm listening to the fluids, I'm listening to the rhythms. I'm listening to the body's readiness. I'm listening to those egg or cave moments where there's accruing, waiting for the right moment. Those pregnant pauses. So it's very exciting in the fluids. There's motion, there's kind of pregnant moments. You just kind of have to wait and rest and wait. And maybe there's movement again. And then I don't really have to do much. And that's a beautiful thing. Because when I start doing things, I start making a lot of mess. That's just me. All right, inhale, bring the hands under your chest, your shoulders. You can escort this right heel closer to your pelvis. And sensing from the heart. Exhale, press back. Pressing the heart back. Downward dog. All right. Now we are moving into turbo dog. So set the hands up so you feel the entire palm heel. You feel the thumb and the index and the middle finger acting on your mat on the ground. And start to feel how that rotation of the arm bones bending can be done without closing the front of the heart or contracting or tensing the fronts of the lungs. Yeah, that's kind of cool. And then as you energetically keep budding into the space of the shoulder and into the space of the arms and then through that bending space of the elbows and into the space of the hands and the fingertips, you get a lot of support. That heart gets a lot of support. Inhale your left foot forward. Place the right knee down. So you have a preview. We are working twisting lunge, and then we'll have the option of working twisting scissors, or I'll show you some other ways we can do that without weight bearing on the hands. So lots of options. But first, twisting lunge. So I'm not just going to put my arm skeleton over my leg. I'm going to move the space of my lung. Feel the lung. Oh, the lung moves around the heart. The heart moves with or independent of the lung. Huh. So I'm going to show you the two options that you have. If you're working twisting scissors, slip in a little deeper so your leg touches as high on your upper arm. And then you can work the little tip as you play with going airborne. Okay. Now, if for whatever reason you don't want to place weight on your hands today, I understand. So you can take this lying fold, okay. And I happen to have the wall here. I like it. Couch works well. Adjust your way away from the wall. And usually when we do a lying spinal twist, we're holding the leg real close to us, and then we're kind of twisting our whole trunk. What's cool about this is my trunk doesn't get bunched up like a raisin. And then I can reach through my right lung and my right arm. And I can press out through my leg. And if this doesn't give me enough interest, so right now I'm exactly arm's length away from the wall. Let's just, okay. My right heel's on the ground. I've turned onto my right side, and voila, my left foot is on the wall. My right arm reaches toward the sky. Now I just use the strap so I can get to the wall elegantly without dive bombing into the wall. This can be really nice if you have wrist issues or you're just interested in this reaching from the interior space of your body rather than just the limb joints. What's really nice is you can feel how unimpacted the guts can be in this, we'll call it twisting scissors lying or variation. So I'm actively reaching through that right side of my body, all the way to the right fingertips, all the way through this to the sky. And I can still breathe into my guts. I can still breathe with I can feel my diaphragm moving. I can hang out here for a while. All right. So take your right elbow, your right arm, push down to the ground. Use your left hand and your strap to move to your back. Okay. Turn to a side. Let's press to downward dog first. There's actually a preceding pose. We'll get the chance to lie again, I promise. There's another side. So we did start with a twisting lunge. So inhale the right foot forward. I've got the left knee down. Now, I'm pausing here just to catch us before a habit, in case there's a habit here. Instead of just whipping my bones over my leg, instead of just moving my scapula, my shoulder blade, and my arm bones over there, what if I could feel my lung and how it moves with or around my heart? Just feeling if that's different. And so here's our chance. You can work twisting scissors. And so we know how to do that, placing the hand down, tipping the hips to the upper arms. Okay. And I'll be showing how to move into a variation. So I'm situated arm's length away from, this could be a couch, this could be a chair, this could be a column of blocks. It could be 2, 3, 4 blocks stacked up. I'm going to loop my right foot Oh, there we go. And with my legs straightened, my right one roughly toward the sky, my left leg straightened along the ground, turn onto your left side, just like a lying spinal twist. But I'm guiding the foot and its motion will stop at the wall. This is good. I want this rest. When I like how far I've twisted, when I like the altitude of my foot on the wall, my left hand, now I'm saying hand, but we know we're talking about the space of our body, the lung, and that includes the shoulder blade, but I'm encouraging a heart and a lung reach, and just feeling how that might be different than an arm reach. To me, it feels like a totally different energetic motion. It really allows me to explore reaching from the heart, reaching it allows me to feel softening through the trunk, which I might not get in working twisting scissors. What's nice is you're freed up to reach the arm in really any direction that suits your shoulder, your rib cage, your vertebrae. All right. So take your left elbow to the ground. There you can push the ground with your tricep as your right hand loop pulls your right leg back to vertical. And when you lie back, it's time for Shavasana, if you can believe. So please help yourself to the rest that helps us at once forget everything and to feel what authentically is staying. And it's a wonderful way of just finding out what stays without grabbing, without holding on to the lesson or the information. And so we're just letting the body take exactly what it needs. Letting it remember exactly how much and what it needs to remember. And it's okay to forget. Letting all else kind of slip. in this autumnal time. It's a great practice of letting and forgetting. When you're ready, bend knees. When you place your palms to the floor on one side, without compressing the heart, press, and the soft heart will arrive at seated. Namaste.